Yo, what is up, YouTube? Good morning to you. Going through a Yubel deck profile here. Just wanted to run through the ratios that I've been testing out. I am still learning how to pilot this deck, really, and have just been playing it in Diamond right now, trying to figure out how best I'm going to run it and what ratios I'm really going to lock in on. But this is kind of how I'm running it in the meantime. I have been enjoying it and it feels really good in these ratios. But I do have another variation of it that I will show in just a moment. I haven't tested too many games in ranked with that other variation just yet. But it is some changes to the extra deck and the main deck. But we will talk about it shortly. But yeah, so the main one that we'll be showing some replays on is this ratios right here. And I was running 3 Valor, 3 Samsara D Lotus, 2 Gruesome Grave Squirmer, 3 Maxi, 2 Dark Beckoning Beast, 3 Ash Blossom, 1 Shavara, and then we're running 1 Yubel, triple Spirit of Yubel, 1 Terror Incarnate, and then we're running 1 for 1, triple Nightmare Throne, 2 Opening of the Spirit Gates, 2 Nightmare Pain, triple Super Poly. So this version we are running Super Poly. And then we are running 2 Called By, 1 Cross Out, triple Imperm, 1 Escape, and then 1 Eternal Favorite. In the extra deck, we're running the Super Poly targets. So we're running Moo Dragon, Garura, and then we're running Earth Golem at Ignister, just because we're really good into Snake Eyes currently. And then running triple Phantom of the Yubel, which is a must, and then we're running 1 of the Loving Defender Forever. I really love the summon animation and just the interaction with this card, and Eternal Favorite and Super Poly. So really good card in my opinion currently, so I'm keeping it in for sure. And then I'm running 1 Chaos Angel. We got the Al Mirage, 1 Soul of Rage, 1 Cross Sheep, 1 Muckraker, the Unchained Soul of Yama, and then we're running SP Little Knight and then Appaloosa. Just quick rundown on kind of what the game plan is. You're basically doing Fiend Link is the best way to describe it. You're using Phantom of Yubel and the Loving Defender as kind of like your main core pieces of, like this is going to be your board outers, and then this is going to be your main piece of interruption. But otherwise, you're kind of link climbing. You're going into things like ending on Solar Rage, and you have Escape, so you have like a target pop. If Yama's in the graveyard, you can reborn it, and then this is going to let you go into a classic Unchained line, which is going from Solar Rage using one of their monsters to link into SP Little Knight, and then you're going to use Little Knight's effects to get an extra banish, and then a second banish whenever a monster effect is procced. So going to be a lot of layered interruption with this end board, and it's going to be I would say a mid-length combo, a little bit of setup, a lot of points of interaction, but pretty safe to Nibiru most of the time. So I really like the feels of this deck. So yeah, we'll go ahead and jump right into the gameplays. All right. So coming on board game number 1 here. So this is one of the only, this is the only replay I have right now saved of me actually winning the coin flip and going first. All the rest of them are going to be me going second. So you'll kind of see how the ratios for hand traps were kind of helping me in that front. But yeah, so going first here, we have a decent combo and we have Protection and Max C. So we have Samsara D Lotus in hand. We also have Nightmare Pain in hand, but this is good, just 1 card combo. So in the middle of the combo, I kind of get lost in it and we do some interesting choices. So I will call those parts out for what's not standard. So I will say, just keep in mind, this is kind of me freestyling basically. But yeah, so we go into Lotus and then they're going to hit a Dimension Shifter. I'm going to call by the Dimension Shifter just because that card just kind of kills everything. But yeah, so we're going to go into Lotus. We're going to negate the Dimension Shifter. We're going to use Lotus Effect to tribute itself, summon a Yubel. We go for Spirit of Yubel. This is going to set Nightmare Pain. Nightmare Pain right here is going to pop and then search for a Grave Squirmer. At that point, since I have Nightmare Pain in hand, another thing that would have been nice is we're basically baiting a hand trap. I could have gone for Eternal Favorite at this point, so then if they impermed or something like that, it wouldn't have really mattered. And then also, if it went through, I would have had an extra, point of interruption on the board. But I kind of was in autopilot mode, just doing classic Samsara one card combo and search Nightmare Pain. But yeah, so that's one option that you could have done different for sure. And then we're going to use the Yubel effect from being destroyed to go for another Yubel. Summon the Grave Squirmer, pop Yubel effect to go for Incarnate. And then we're going to use these two to link up into the Cross Sheep. From there, Cross Sheep is then going to be good for us to summon a Phantom of Yubel under so that we can reborn the Lotus. I used the Grave Squirmer effect right there. Basically, what you should have probably done is chance them having a Nibiru, and instead of using Grave Squirmer, just use the Lotus and the Phantom of Yubel to go into your Yama. But I decided I'm okay without going for the extra pop effect. So then I go for reborning the Yubel and using the Yubel to go for Yama so that we're still protected from a Nibiru. And then I decided to go for a 2 material Appaloosa instead of a 3, which is more standard. But we're going to use the Shavara to pop the Yubel at this point. I decide to use the Yama effect to go ahead and pop Spirit, and then that is going to get our Yubel back in. And then we're going to use these two to go into the Soul of Rage. And then now we can set the trap. This is just kind of really a bluff, but it gives us enough bodies to shuffle back to go into another Phantom. So then we're basically ending on a 2 material Appaloosa, a Phantom of Yubel, and an Unchained Soul of Rage. This is like a backup plan at this point because I use the Yama. I don't want to pop the Rage if I don't have to, but kind of depending on what they're playing and doing, instead of me linking off into an SP Little Knight, the pop might be beneficial, so we'll just kind of play it by ear. So they're going to go ahead and start off by bringing out a Fenrir. Fenrir's going to search. I'm going to Effect Veiler that, so we're going to kind of stop both effects with the Effect Veiler. That's nice. And then from there, we are going to then get Talents. So the Talents is tough. I decide at this point we might as well just get rid of it and pop the Fenrir. And then now he's going to take the Appaloosa. Appaloosa I'm okay with losing. We're going to give the Lotus back to hand. I decided to just use this to try to bait more of his interaction here too. I don't really care if he uses part of my Appaloosa. At this point, it's just kind of eating up some of it. And then we're going to add the Lotus back to hand. And then he goes into the Rise Heart, uses Rise Heart to banish. And then these two, he decides to go up into a Red Flare Metal Dragon. So that was pretty interesting. He goes for beating me down with both of them. And then I get the Appaloosa back, sets 1. So right here, another point, interesting point of interaction where I highly don't recommend what I did, but for some reason when I was live in the game, I was thinking to myself, I might be able to get lethal up by leaving the dragon. So I was like, okay, let me try to go for it. And as I was routing the combo, I realized like, okay, I'm getting too low, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get the lethal up. So just keep in mind at any moment, I could, like, off of this first summon right here, and I finished the chain summon for Samsara D Lotus, I could have outed this by just going into SP Little Knight. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead, normal summon Dark Beckoning Beast, and then we get a second normal summon off of his effect to go into the Samsara. We then go into Spirit of Yubel. We're gonna set the Eternal Favorite like we should have done on the first turn. And then right here now, we are going to use all of our effects possible, just keep burning myself, go into a Gruesome Squirmer, we're gonna eat a couple more burns, we go into a Yubel, and then now I decide it's too much, so I go ahead, go into SP Little Knight, use the summon effect to banish, and then we're not gonna have any attack directly this turn, so that's fine. We're just gonna go ahead, finish the rest of our combo. We get the circle into play for reborning, and then we're gonna end turn like this. So in the end phase, I'm trying to end on Yubel so my Eternal Favorite's live and I can fuse with this whole field. I use the Secrets effect to kind of bring that back, and then we have a Phantom on board. We then reborn the Lotus, and then we're gonna use the Tribute effect of Yubel to keep it on the board by sending Grave Squirmer. And the reason why we kept the Lotus instead of Grave Squirmer is because the Lotus is on enemy turn another quick effect, where we can, while we control Yubel, this is going to turn another monster effect into, it's basically like having two phantoms on the board. So we phantom one monster effect, we've Samsara the other monster effect, and then with Eternal Favorite, we can pitch a card and fuse with their entire field to go into Yubel Loving Defender Forever. So this board is pretty disgusting, especially when you're in the middle of turn 5. So it really shows like the type of recursion this deck has, and how once you get like Samsara into rotation, like it's just insanity how you can keep playing. But yeah, so right there, he ends phase. We're going to go straight up into trying to get lethal on board now. So we're going into a Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel, I'm going to force out his newly set back row. It is a preparation, so he's going to use the preparations to reborn the Fenrir. Totally fine by me. We banish, and then now we're going to use Eternal Favorite. I'm going to reborn a Spirit of Yubel, and then this is going to reborn a Samsara. We get a bunch of reflect damage, we beat through, and then we go for damage. This leaves him at 1600, and then we're going to use Grave Squirmer effect, reborn Dark Beckoning Beast, and then I link these gentlemen off into a Muckraker, and then now we're going to use the Muckraker effect to reborn the Soul of Rage, and then right here we use this to add a Nightmare Pain copy back to hand. So then we go ahead, tribute the Spirit of Yubel, keeping the Lotus on board just because it's another point of interruption. And then they get a Durandal. Durandal is going to search for the Rise Heart. Rise Heart comes out, and he is going to banish and become a level 7. I use the Samsara just to get the effect out of there. And then that's going to change it from turning into a level 7 to me popping. Then I'm going to go ahead, use that to reborn Incarnate, and then use Eternal Favorite to reborn Yubel, and that's just too much for him, so he scoops at that point. But yeah, so that is game number 1. A lot of these games are scrappy, they go on for a long time, and you'll see here from here out we are going second, so we'll pop right into that. Okay, moving into game number 2, and this one is a quick one, so it's a turn on turn 2 it ends. I think they concede as a spoiler here, but just wanted to kind of show going second what's happening. I did get a max C to resolve, so as you know, that already puts a damper on this guy having any sort of fun, but as they go ahead and reveal, it is pretty much a Snake Eyes God Hand, so I have no remorse for maxing that. We're gonna Imperm, they're gonna dodge it with the Garunix, so it's Snake Eyes Fire King, and he had Wanted, Snash, and Kieran in hand, just wonderful, wonderful starting hand, so I'm totally fine with Maxi resolving in this case. So we're gonna hold the Ash Blossom until we see the original Sin effect, which I'm hoping is right after this Ling Karibo summon. So Ling Karibo comes out, he's gonna set him up in the back row. We're then going to Ash the original Sin, and then now we have just an Effect Veiler to work with, which shouldn't be too bad for us. So if he goes into a Hita right now, we can Effect Veiler that. He's going to use the Wanted to set that back and shuffle. This is now going to go right into an SP Little Knight, which is rough for me on the Effect Veiler, and then now goes into the Black Witch. Black Witch is then going to use his effect. I decide, you know what, let's just use the Effect Veiler. It's going to tell me some info. He doesn't chain the Little Knight, so we know for a fact that it's not really anything important. So that's fine. We're just going to let this go through, and then now we top deck a Lotus, which is huge. I set Pain up. We're going to pop the Spirit of Yubel straight from hand to go right into a Yubel, and then shuffle both of these back into a Phantom. That way we can just kind of counter this SP Little Knight. We then go into Dark Beckoning Beast. He's going to Effect Veiler me. I'm going to Called by the Effect Veiler. I think this is now going to force out the SP Little Knight, and then we're going to go ahead and chain that early Phantom of Yubel to the Little Knight. So now Little Knight's effect is just dead in the water, and then we're going to get another round of pops in, and then not hard once per turn, so we're going to go right into another Yubel for free off of that. So that's going to help us out here. We add another opening of the Spirit Gates. Yubel now goes off. We get the other Yubel. We're going to go Grave Squirmer summon, pop, and then this is going to bring out the Incarnate. We're now going to use Spirits to pitch. We get Yubel back, and then I use Lotus to pitch itself for Spirit of Yubel, and now this right here is lethal. Before damage calculation, if this face-up attack, or no, if it's targeted for attack, I'm sorry. I think one of these burns. Before damage calculation, this one, inflict damage equal to their attack. So classic Yubel, we're going to attack in for 25, burn for 25, attack in for 25, and then attack in for 25. So that's game on board. And then right here, as it's resolving, they scoop. But yeah, so that right there is the quick OTK. You know, I got the Phantom out early, which the Phantom would have contributed as well to the OTK if I didn't have to use it. But presumably, while you're trying to get that on board, you're going to have to use it to stop something like a Nibiru. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and move into the other games here. They are going to be a little bit longer for sure. All right, swinging into game number 3 here, and I will try my best to just slow down. I'm kind of doing this all just live and off the cuff, and I'm trying to get better at shoutcasting my plays. But yeah, so I apologize for sometimes I kind of get lost in just letting the game play out and then summarizing. But so we top deck a 1-for-1. He passes on nothing, set 2. He's got an Ash Blossom. We're going to go ahead and Called by the Ash Blossom. Reason being, I want to use Called by now. That way, if I can cross out a Called by to save my combo, it's going to be nice. So we're going to go ahead and go right into the Samsara D Lotus. We're going to use Lotus Effect. This is going to get Called by, so that's why we're real happy that we use Cross Out now to Called by, and we got use out of both of my hand traps that I had. So there we go. Now this is going to go into Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel is going to get Effect Veilered. Luckily, we did draw Gruesome, so we're just going to go straight into Chain Gruesome. I love this interaction. As it summons and resolves, you choose to pop, so then that dodges the Effect Veiler. We set the Nightmare Pain. We go into the Yubel. We then now are going to get hit by Dogmatica Punishment. I'm going to chain Shavara to it because it's going to fizzle. So I pop it, and then that fizzles, so he does nothing off of it, and then we go ahead and pop. Now we are fiend blocked, which is sad, but we don't really need to go into Appaloosa, so I'm not too concerned. We go into Soul of Rage, and then we're gonna set our trap card, and then now we shuffle 2 back, go into Phantom of Yubel. I'm going to use the Grave Squirmer to reborn a Spirit of Yubel, and then now we have, you know, 2 reflectors on board. We've got some pop follow up, and we've got a Shavara, and looks like they have no interaction at all. We top deck our Yubel. I'm gonna pop and search for a Grave Squirmer. This is still gonna let me summon it from hand, so we're totally fine. This is gonna be the classic. You summon the Grave Squirmer, pop the Yubel, go into the Incarnate, and then now we are going to go into a Little Knight. This is just going to be more damage up on board at this point. So we're going to use Grave Squirmer, Reborn. I'm going to use Yubel to search for an eternal favorite. And then I'm going to actually use the Phantom because we have enough of the bodies to get it back on board. So just kind of protect that so that I can go into my Eternal Favorite. And then that's going to let me summon back out a Yubel and then use these 2 to link off into a Muckraker. And then Muckraker is going to let me, I believe, oh, I don't have anything in hand to discard. But yeah, so we just go for full damage. Basically, if I had something to discard, I could have discarded Reborn Shavara and it would have been lethal. But yeah, so that ends up being nothing on the draw. Guy was kind of unlucky on the bricks there. And plus, anything he kind of did go into, I had ways to stop it. So tons of layered interaction, and you just kind of keep getting level 2 links out and going for lethal slowly over time. But yeah, we'll go into game number 4. All right, and then now moving into game number 4, last one of the replays for today. I will try to make more on this deck, and kind of at the end here we'll go into final thoughts and I'll show that other variation. But yeah, so they go ahead and normal summon a Black Rose Dragon. I'm going to effect Veiler the Black Rose Dragon. They did set a back row right away, which kind of threw me off. So we're just kind of seeing that they're bricked, I guess, after that one negate. And then we top deck into an Imperm. I'm going to set Nightmare Throne up. It is a 1-card combo, an even better one than Samsara D Lotus. We're going to Ash Blossom the Max C, and then they called by my Ash, so this is going to be rough. We're going to have to play under Max C, which I'm kind of okay with my hand. You know, I have an interesting hand, so I'm not too concerned about it. We're going to go ahead and just tribute, let them draw 1 for now. I'm going to set up the Nightmare Pain, and then I think I just set 3 back row here. Go into battle phase, we beat down, and then we set the 3 back row, just playing around the wonderful evenly match, which is huge in the meta right now. And then it looks like it is a Dragon Ruler Black Rose, you know, just dragon pile deck. So they go into Chang Yang, and then right here I'm going to decide to chain the Imperm because I do not want him to, you know, banish 2 of my cards. So we're just going to chain Imperm, stop that from going off. They go into the Dragon Ruler. I then chain, I just flip my Eternal Favorite, trying to kind of test if I can use it to reborn anything, but I forgot I didn't pop anything at this point. He goes for popping my field spell, which I'm okay with. And then he goes for a Little Knight banish my other Yubel. So then now I just use the Eternal Favorite to reborn it, and then he's forced to attack into me. So then right there now we reflect 1600, he's down to 48. We top deck the Nightmare Throne, so his Baron play didn't even matter at all. He's just going to go ahead and chain banish. Doesn't seem like he learned anything about my Eternal Favorite from before. So we get a Lotus back out. I decide to just bring the Yubel back out for free. We're going to use Nightmare Pain to pop, go into Yubel, search. I should have gone for Grave Squirmer, but I forgot kind of what I was chaining right there. It was Nightmare Pain's search effect. So that was kind of a misplay. and then we'd use these two to go up into our cross sheep. Cross sheep is then going to let us set up a Phantom of Yubel to reborn the Lotus, and then right here is that play I was talking about before, where you're kind of chancing going into Nibiru by going for the Yama, but it's worth it because now you can usually reborn with a Grave Squirmer. I didn't have that because I just needed to pop the trap to get him up on board. We get the Muckraker out, and then we use the Muckraker to reborn Shavara, and then he scoops because that's going to be enough for lethal. But yeah, so that was game number 4 there. Um, as you can see, a lot of the hands are kind of freestyling. Sometimes you get lost on what you're, you know, resolving at that point in time when there's so many effects happening. So that's my biggest shout out so far as I'm learning to pilot the deck, new to these cards. So as I get better at it, obviously it's like I'm watching these back and I know the lines better each time I do it. But yeah, so we'll go into the deck profile again here and just do some closing thoughts, and then I'll show that other variation. But yeah. Okay, so closing thoughts here. Like I was saying, I really liked the ratios in my games that, I had a lot of games that were interesting ones or blowouts or different things like that, and a bunch of losses as I was learning to pilot the deck, and a couple brick hands, things like that. But one thing that I do want to say is I really enjoy the ratios so far. I haven't come up with a way to change it very much, um, but as I play it more and more, I'm sure there might be some tweaks I make. And I do enjoy the super poly package. There is some part of me that keeps thinking like, okay, how do I fit in Mature Chronicle and then get the add super poly effect into play too? I haven't really labbed it up too much yet. This is another variation of it that I've seen, and I'm kind of interested in running. I might, part of me is like, I run no Prospe in anything. I hate getting rid of my extra deck monsters, and I always feel like every time I try to resolve it, it doesn't go through. So this might be the one that I end up trying to run it in. Let's just do this live now. Save that. But yeah, so this is like another version of it where a lot of your plays, like you're prone to getting max seed, like you normal summon Samsara and then you tribute it to go for your Yubel and the guy max sees, so Gamma kind of has some synergy in this deck that would help. So it's something that I've thrown in into this variation of it, and then also trying to keep it at a tight 40, and then trying to get more of the Unchained lines involved into it. So not running the super poly, but keeping Loving Defender forever, because you can use Eternal Favorite basically as a super poly. But yeah, so this is like harder, more hope into stopping Max C. We've got the same triple Phantom, and then down here, harder combos into the Unchained lines, where we have Abomination, we have Soul of Anguish. If we sometimes you use like your Muckraker to reborn your Solar Rage again. I'm also running 2 Yamas in this build, so this is like more of like a Unchained heavy variation, and I'm kind of into it. I've seen some wild variations where people are running like Beatrice and also like Super Producer, and then they're running the Blue Dog Shavara. So I mean Shyama, along with the Shavara. So to me, I haven't tested anything like that yet, and I don't even have Beatrice, and I dismantled my Abyss Actor deck a long time ago, so I don't have Super Producer anymore either. But yeah, so in the meantime, this is going to be something else I try to combo with here and test out. So you might see a 2.0 this video, but in the last like these replays here for this video, this is how I was running it. So just keep in mind all sorts of different ways to run this deck, and there's going to be tons of content that you guys are watching. After this, I am going to be trying to get my Centurion deck rolling and showing off what I'm doing with that. Last night I was combo labbing some spicy Vision Resonator, Soul Resonator search lines with triple Lubellion to get into the B Seals, and setting up a Regained with the Crimson Gaia. So, you know, you have a lot of back row protection with Auxilla. So this version is kind of crazy. So I haven't played it yet in any ranked games, but just be on the lookout for this if you're looking for Centurion. That's going to be coming up. But yeah, thanks so much, guys. As always, I appreciate anyone sticking around. I'm sure this one is long. I ramble, but I appreciate it, and any comments are much appreciated as I grow on this path of creating content. But thanks so much, all.
Artificial love, we just make it up, 'cause reality will never be good.